beta tapes.
Beta. Oh,
beta
my.
Tapes. And my brother and I would record the best videos, and that was always recorded. So, yeah. What's your favorite food, Jeff?
Oh, favorite food, man. I don't know if I can narrow it down to a favorite. I mean, a little bit of everything. We like to kind of experiment. I mean, me, Jack, and Dan lately have been kind of going on a little bit of a stretch with some of the stuff we've been doing up at the Beaumont. We had just this past week we were making kind of fall harvest vegetable chips, kind of out of whatever we could find. It was just an idea. It was a good idea. We kind of made a puree out of. I think the first one we did was yellow beets or asparagus, and you just kind of make a puree, add a little bit of liquid glucose to it, and then spread it out on the silt pad and dehydrate it. They turned out great, real nice and crispy, and I mean they taste like the vegetable you want them to. It tastes like a puree in a light chip form, and then we just went off with it from there. And I think we had four different ones. We did red beets, we did yellow beets, the asparagus. Jack did black beans, and then we put it with pancetta dust crusted U10 scallops, and the flavors in the dish were just phenomenal. Finished with butternut squash risotto. It was good stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the stuff that we like to do. I think anything that has that like cured pork in it, I lean towards.
Yeah. I want to go back to the chips for a second, Ty. You know Chef Jack Godwin. He's frequently in our group and appeared, I think, on our first show.
He did.
He got very hatchy-malachi and made leaves out of these chips, and they looked like leaves, like fall leaves.
How'd they taste?
Oh, they were awesome. They were amazing. Like I am going there. I go. I'm supposed to really go like once a week, but I end up there probably 3 times a week. And there's a couple of reasons why. The first would be these crazy things they're creating, like pancetta dust. I mean that kind of turns me on. Like stuff like that excites me. So I like to see chefs that are really creative and innovative. And then the other reason is these guys, Jeff, Dan, and Jack, have such a great dynamic. It's almost like a sitcom there. Like Jack's the grumpy old man, but he keeps it light. And Dan is keeping everybody together, but also keeps it light. And then and Dan is the quality control guy. You know, I get the text message on a Saturday night at 11 o'clock saying, you know, my lettuce is a little brown. You know, so I have to, you know, put him at ease. And then Jeff's my buddy, man. We could talk food all day long. Food, service, and I think we talk a lot about the keys to ingredients to making a successful restaurant.
And Jeff, you're plotting your next hazing, correct?
We're always plotting a next hazing, but
that was tell our listeners about this.
Well, what happened was me and Jack, I think, in the same day, we liked this Facebook page called Chef Memes, and we were watching a couple things that they were doing, and this one video they did, they had an apprentice chop flour. It was like, for me and Jack, it was like, wow, how come we haven't thought of having anyone do that before? I was like, oh, yeah, just grab somebody, kind of make it like a priority that this flour needs to be chopped right now. And so we were kind of looking for the opportune time to make it happen, and I think it was just last week we saw our opportunity, and poor Joe, one of our dishwashers, he kind of got the brunt end of that one.
So eager to please.
Yeah, he was very eager to please. You see how scared he looked? He didn't know he was confused.
When it needs to happen in a rush, he's all about trying to make life easy on us, which we appreciate that. But they kind of got one over on him this time. We rushed him into the back to chop flour for, I think we told him it was for making tarts or something on the fly, and so I put a board down and put some flour on it and show him how to chop it real quick at first, and then leave the knife in his hand and head back to the line while Dan and Jack are just kind of standing there at the end of the line just filming it. And so I let him go for maybe like 30 seconds and come back around the corner and tell him that he chopped it too fine, and threw it all in the garbage, told him he had to start again. And I mean, it was one of those things. It was like we were looking, we had an extra 5 minutes during the day. We were looking to pass it, and that's what happened. But
great opportunity arose. Yeah, the video is in our Facebook group, the Beats and Eats Facebook group. Got a lot of attention. But I think as we're busting the balls of this dishwasher, I think it's also important, and people don't realize what an important job the dishwasher is in a kitchen. Absolutely.
Without them, there's a lot of stuff that just it'd be hard to get it all done. I mean, as for chefs, especially with me, Jack, and Dan, I mean, we're at least minimum 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, even on our days off, we're in there. So I mean, putting those kind of hours in and having to make sure that the dishwashers are happy, and they do their job. They really do like to make it happen, and they want to strive for what they have to. They want to become something someday. So he, Joe wants to prep, so we give him some stuff to prep here and there, and this was just one that kind of caught him off guard.
Oh, that is just great. So you're planning your fall menu as we're now going into autumn, and it's about done. Without giving away any secrets, tell us what's the inspiration behind your fall seasonal menu.
Pretty much just the season. Fall for me is just that. It's the perfect time of year. There's probably the best things that happen during a year for me, I'd say, are fall. I mean, you have football season, you have the start of archery, you have you have all the fall squash, all that kind of stuff, the apples, the pears, all that stuff that's kind of coming into its own right now. So I mean, we really like to play with everything in season and at the peak of its season. So that's kind of where we went with it.
Did you say archery?
Yeah, archery.
Wow.
Archery,
I know what archery is.
Common. I mean, he's not on the top of a castle shooting bows and arrows at people.
It's like archery.
We are in the middle of Pennsylvania hunting country.
Oh, okay. I was like, is that a Pennsylvania thing?
I don't think it's just a Pennsylvania thing. But yes, my father is archery hunts.
I picture you guys walking around like Robin Hood or something.
In tights.
It's kind of like that, especially in the first couple weeks of the season, because in Pennsylvania it's also hen of the woods mushroom season. So for the first 2 weeks, I don't know if it's as much about deer hunting as it is kind of just walking around staring at the ground. And I mean, the hen of the woods mushrooms are probably, and I think it's one of those nostalgic things for me. Like, my father and my grandfather taught me how to forage them when I was young, and those and papinkis are really predominant up here around this time of year. So I mean, for me, that's just like one of the things. Growing up, we did it every year. My dad showed me how to do it. Going out with my grandfather, and just going out and picking mushrooms is one of the things. You bring them back, you clean them up, make soup out of them. Anything. And up here, we get some hen of the woods mushrooms that won't even fit in the biggest cooler you have. So,
guys, this is a very random question. This is from an old friend of mine, Todd Kingsbury, here in Washington State, who's listening to the show. How can you tell the difference between an edible and a non-edible mushroom?
That's not a bad question.
Well, that's an extremely good question. But for the most part, I mean, I really only pick two mushrooms that I am 100% certain about. The papinkis, you could kind of tell those. They have, it almost looks like a wild shiitake mushroom. The caps are a little bit tighter together. Dots around the top in a circle, and then on the stem there's a little ring that goes around the stem. But I mean, if you're gonna go out and do it, I don't suggest just walking out in the woods and tasting mushrooms to see if they work well, because you're gonna end up in the hospital.
Well, Jeff, I know you got your family, you're home. It's a night off, and they're few and far between in the restaurant business. Man, I'll probably see you tomorrow, but I'll definitely see you Wednesday, as I'm not bringing you popinkis, but we are bringing quite a few produce items to look at, and appreciate your time, man. Everybody check out the Beaumont Inn at www.thebeaumontin.com. Thanks, man.
All right, absolutely. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me, guys.
You deserve it, Jeff. You deserve it, man. Have a good night.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep, you too. Yep, thanks, Ty. Bye.
Bye-bye. One of the better chefs in our area, a guy I really love to work with, and he captures it right, Ty, when he says that fall, you start talking about seasonal vegetables. In my business, it is fun because it's constantly changing. And if you don't, and there are, believe me, I'm very fortunate to have many captivative, creative culinary teams that I work with throughout the valley, and but there are a lot that don't get into that. They just do the same stuff over and over and over and over. And when you're walking into a kitchen and you have a laundry list of chores for the chef because he's so interested in all this exotic and wild stuff, and that's a dream come true for a consultant like myself.
Oh.
I want to be able to go out and find him, tricolored baby carrots with tops and heirloom spinach and patty pan vegetables. And
you're like a coach of the playbook.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it is fun that way.
Now, I will say this, Nick. I got to the point during that conversation where I started to picture you guys in like a medieval time setting.
Picking mushrooms with a bow and arrow.
In tights. With these hats on with feathers sticking out. I got to get to Pennsylvania soon. You guys have too much fun during the fall.
I'll tell you what, you were priceless with the archery.
Well, it was so random to me. It's archery season, and I'm thinking, well, here in Washington we fish and we hike. Maybe I know we hunt sometimes with bow and arrow. I guess I just don't think archery.
My father. Well, not so much as he's gotten older, but there was a time when I was growing up, he hunted with the bow and arrow. He hunted with the musket, which is actually very fascinating. It's like a Civil War musket. And then, of course, he traditional hunted. He also trap hunted, and he was he was actually in states for trap shooting. So we grew up at the hunting cabin, and it was a big part of our lives. Of course, I was never a big hunter. I can remember, my father really wanting me to like it, and it was one of those things where I wanted to like it because I wanted to have that bond.
Sure.
But I just, I think I went once. It rained all day, and I spent most of the time on my cell phone, and Dad was just like, you know what, this ain't for you, kid. But we do go shooting a lot, which is fun.
I just don't see you as the hunting type. I shot a squirrel, I think, with a wrist rocket when I was 10 years old and scarred for life. I never wanted to pick up a weapon after that.
Yeah, I it's not the act of I like to hunt.
Yeah.
It's what I don't like is my mind is too active to sit in the woods all day and not see anything. You know what I mean? Like there are times where he would go out 3 or 4 times and just not see a thing. So to me that's kind of boring.
It's on MTV attention span, Nick. It all comes back to Alan Hunter. It's his fault.
It is. And Ty, I'll tell you what, my phone wouldn't work this morning. I just had a bad day today. My phone wouldn't work this morning, and in my job, without your phone, you're kind of really screwed. But it didn't work for 2 hours, and for 2 hours I was panic-stricken. So imagine going out in the woods for 8 hours with no phone. It sounds real relaxing, but not for me.
I was thinking about that today. I did sales in 1989, Nick. I had a terminal at my desk and the phone book.